Hello everyone, this is Primetime Wrestling UK, and today I'm going to talk about the podcast with Colt, Cabana and CM Punk, and also briefly about Survivor Series, which happened last weekend. But before that, I'm going to do, on my Facebook group, I basically did a competition to win the Stone Cold Steve Austin DVD, and basically I'd asked them what their favourite Steve Austin match was of all time, and it basically was a tie between two. The Steve Austin versus The Rock at WrestleMania 17, which was my first ever WrestleMania, and I'll always remember that match because of the fact that Steve Austin joined Vince McMahon, which was a huge surprise to everyone. And the other one was Steve Austin versus Triple H at No Way Out 2001 in the 3 Stages of Hell, which again, that was an excellent match, and being a big Triple H fan, really enjoyed that match. And so I'm going to do a draw now between the people that picked those in my WrestleMania Cup. So here we go. Just bear with me a minute. It's Rachel. You won't see that too far apart. Rachel, I'll post that on the group once I finish doing the video. There have been more competitions on my group during coming weeks before Christmas. But anyway, now on to the CM Punk talk. It was actually very good, interesting to listen to. Now, Punk's not one of my most favourite people in the world because of the experiences I've had meeting him at Fan Access. But, you know, in the ring he's great, and it's very interesting to hear how negligent W can be with some things. Like, he's no saint himself, but anyway, he was saying basically at first about how they changed things at WrestleMania to just spite CM Punk because of him quitting, which anyway it worked out well because Daniel Bryan became world champion, which he probably wouldn't have got that opportunity if it wasn't for CM Punk quitting. But his main reasons for leaving weren't just because he didn't make the main event of WrestleMania. A lot of it was to do with his health, you know, which I'll get into more, but he was also saying about how they didn't always go with some of the things that he came up with, when yet they would let someone else do it. He's use his ideas weeks later. Like, he wanted to come up with a UFC style trunks, like what Brock Lesnar's got, but this was before Brock Lesnar came out and all that stuff. And he wanted to have sponsors and all that, and they said they wouldn't agree to it basically. And then weeks later, Brock Lesnar does it, so they kind of contradicted themselves. They did that a few times, and if Vince just didn't want to listen to a lot of his ideas, but there was like, I don't know if you remember, Punk wanted to walk someone to the ring for UFC, and Vince was like afraid of someone dying while he's there or something because of how violent UFC can be, which is just ridiculous. Yet Triple H got to walk Mayweather to the ring for the boxing, which to me is also a very dangerous sport. You know, and at the end of the day, wrestling's a dangerous sport as well. You know, just look at how many injuries over the years. But yeah, he had a concussion. He spoke about how he had concussion before the Royal Rumble, before he fought with The Rock, but they still stuck him out there. And yeah, it wasn't great the way they did things with him. Like this staph infection he had on his back, they just thought it was tissue. It was just fatty tissue, he called it. And it sounds like the doctor's not very good, and he had so many injuries. He had broken ribs, which he got from Ryback. He had his problem with his knee, which he needed surgery on. There was his elbow that used to lock a lot while he was travelling. He was coming to a point of choice with him where he was falling apart. And they don't have insurance, so I can gather, WE. There's none of this unions, and they've got it's called unions, to protect them. So it's just, you know, not a lot they can do really to get away from it. You're kind of just being forced to fight through it, and it's only so much someone's body can take. And it took basically when Punk left WWE going to AJ's doctor, and as soon as he looked at it, he said it was a staph infection, which apparently he was lucky he was still alive considering he'd been wrestling with it for 3 months. Which, I think WWE need to look at their doctor. If their doctor can't even figure out that it's a staph infection, yet another doctor can work it out in 5 seconds flat. He came up with some interesting comments about the whole thing with the Shield, how apparently that was his idea, which I didn't realise. Because at first they wanted to stick him in a stable with Big Show and Daniel Bryan, I think it was, which I don't think it'll work, especially with Big Show. I'm not his biggest fan, and just, it would have been just the same old. It needed something fresh. And he basically suggested Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns and Chris Hero at first. But then they obviously decided not to bother with. They dropped Chris Hero. I think that was his weight issue. They had problems with him, and they went with Seth Rollins instead. And yeah, look how the Shield's gone from there. They've done wonders. It's a good job they went with that in the end, and not. I think what could have been if they didn't bother with Shield and just gone Big Show. You'd have never had the Shield here, would you? He commented about his feud with Ryback, which was quite interesting. He called him a steroid guy. And Ryback's, I mean, Punk really should say it to his face instead of on the podcast, but everyone's different, I guess. And obviously, I think it's a bit gutless to do it behind his back, but, you know, maybe one day he will say it to his face. But, Ryback's a bit on the stiff side sometimes with his clotheslines and a few other things, like where I think it was in a house show, he was meant to put him through a table, missed, and ended up slamming him onto the concrete, which did his back no good at all. And one time he cracked his ribs, which wasn't good. He's quite a stiff worker, Ryback. And Punk got the feeling that he was doing a lot of it on purpose, which he denies it, but who knows? Only Ryback knows, I guess. He said he would rather have worked with Curtis Axel than Ryback. Obviously, Curtis Axel's a better worker, but you know, it's the usual. Ryback's big, so they go with Ryback, don't they? He did the UK tour. I think this might have been the April one, either that or November last year. He did that with concussion. Was sick after every match. And he reckons he actually crapped his pants during SmackDown because he was on some strong antibiotics. And yeah, there was also he was commenting on things like how The Rock and Undertaker are only there once a year, yet they get the win over the likes of CM Punk, who's there every night, which is true. You know, The Rock and I know Undertaker is obvious reasons because he's physically a wreck now. But you know, Big Rock just comes along once a year and that's it, and gets the win and walks away again, which does seem unfair to the wrestlers that are there every day of the week. He was saying how during that Survivor Series where Cena and The Rock teamed up against Miz and Truth, Miz and Truth got the blame for the buy rate being poor, when because the buy rate the year before, which Punk was in, was a lot better. But of course, instead of blaming The Rock, it's easier to blame the lights of R-Truth, I guess. What else have we got here? Apparently Punk was meant to do the 12 rounds film, which ended up getting given to Randy Orton in the end, which I thought was interesting. Apparently it was because Punk was saying about it was basically during the tour, and Triple H didn't realise it was. And then when Triple H went back to check, and they ended up dropping him from it and giving the film to Randy Orton. So just bear with me a minute, my cat. Come on. Sorry about that. Yeah, they gave it to Randy Orton instead, and Punk ended up on the tour. There was a lot of things Punk was promised, and he basically never stuck to it, or you know, Vince owed him so many times. He never wanted to turn heel when he started the feud with The Rock, and Vince said to him if he does that one thing for him, he'll owe him, and he never really did return the favours. A lot of it, what it boils down to, Punk, was he never got his main event match at WrestleMania. They would say to him that he's matched Undertaker's main event, but there's only one main event, and that's the last match of the night, and he never got that. You know, some people say he should have got it, some say maybe not, but I guess in the end of the day, I mean, I don't like the guy outside the ring, but in the ring he was very good, and he probably did deserve a main event opportunity, which obviously will never happen now because he said he will never come back. So, I mean, he might change his mind one day, you don't know, but I think it'll be a while until that happens because Punk's very stubborn and he won't. He's a very strong-minded bloke, he won't just come back anytime soon. And there was things like he was owed money for. He'd found a cheque in his van from ages ago, he hadn't been cashed, and he tried to get them to send him another cheque, they never did. Also, his royalties, he was never sent royalties, which I think was because of the fact that he left before the end of his contract. But he basically got all the money. He went legal with it all and got everything that was owed to him, and as well as the whole debacle with the WE game, with them putting him on it. He got his money towards that. So he basically got everything that was owed to him in the end. Now it was actually very interesting listening to what he said, because they should have insurance, these wrestlers, and all wrestlers need a break at some point. You can't just work 5 days, wrestle 5 days a week and then travel the rest. It's just only so much your body can take, and just they do need to look after their wrestlers better than what they do. Because at the end of the day, they're human beings like everyone else. It's the trouble when you don't have an off season. It's all year, every year. It's only so much your body can take. I can understand why people go to TNA after a while, because it's less schedule, it's a lot easier on their body. But hopefully in time it'll change where the wrestlers will get a union and they'll start looking after their wrestlers a bit better instead of just treating them like a cash machine. A money making machine, I say, not a cash machine. Punk apparently was due to fight Triple H at WrestleMania, as many will know, but he refused to do it because when they suggested it, he was beaten up quite badly. He had his rib problems, his knee, his elbow, his concussion, his staph infection. There was so many things going wrong for him. And he obviously wanted the main event match, and they were going to give him Triple H, which they said it would be a main event match, but obviously it wasn't going to be the last match of the night. So he refused to do it, and he basically hadn't forgotten the fact that Triple H didn't put him over 3 years ago. And basically there's always been that heat rivalry between them ever since. Triple H don't like him, Punk don't like him. And he refused to work with him, even though Punk was going to win at WrestleMania, apparently. Which I thought I'd heard the other day that he was going to lose, but apparently he was going to actually win. Which is fair enough, but it didn't happen. He said he couldn't do it anymore. I think apparently he had a tear in his eye, and they shook hands and so on, and that was that. But luckily Punk got his back sorted out, and he's okay now, and he's apparently very happy now. Of course he's married to AJ, so as I said, there's only so much your body can take. I mean, alright, he's no innocent guy. As he said, he could be awkward to work. He can be a pain in the arse to work with. He's not the nicest of guys in the world. I concur for that, that's for sure. But it was certainly very interesting to listen to. I'll be watching Vince McMahon's video when I get a chance. It keeps getting taken off YouTube. But it'd be interesting to hear that, and then I'll review that again once I get to see that, hopefully sometime this week or next week. But basically the main reasons for him leaving were his health was a major issue, creative was just all over the place, and also the fact that he never main evented WrestleMania. He didn't really like the fact that he had to lose to Undertaker at WrestleMania, even though of course he got the streak, but he didn't see the logic in losing to a 45-year-old, which I can understand, because it's like people surprised Lesnar won, but realistically Lesnar would win, wouldn't he? Because Undertaker's getting on now, and Lesnar's so much more stronger than him. But yeah, it was a very good to listen to. It went on quite a while, about an hour and 40, but there was no point where you got bored of it or anything. It was always interesting to listen to. But anyway, now I'll briefly talk about Survivor Series, which I really enjoyed. You had the ending with Sting returning. Oh, sorry, debuting. He never has been in the company. I'm not talking about his debut, which he helped Team Cena win, which I was very happy with who got the pin. Dolph Ziggler pinned Seth Rollins. I was happy that they put Dolph as the sole survivor and not John Cena for a change. It gets predictable after one. It's just, why should it always be Cena? So that match was very good, and right ones won, and the whole entrance for Sting was really cool. You had Dean Ambrose against Bray Wyatt, which was a decent match, which I expect to be even better at TLC when they fight. Bray Wyatt won by a DQ, and yeah, the next match I expect will be better, even better. There was Miz and Sandow won the tag team titles, which I was very happy with. Sandow got the pin, which was cool, and because Damien's over big time at the moment, which obviously leading to splitting them eventually. But that again was another good match. What do you have? One, two, throwing a blank on the rest of the matches. It was AJ versus Nikki Bella, which was very short, strange. I mean, they had Brie help Nikki, which didn't really make a lot of sense. All of a sudden they're friends again. And I can only think that Brie's tricking her and will turn on her again and eventually take the Divas title from her. But it didn't really make sense why it was such a short match. But it seemed like a bit of a throwaway, really, a bit of a waste. The other match was Team Paige versus Team Natalya, which was strange. They had basically, it was just left to Paige against everyone else. The other team Paige's team was just squashed, basically. It was really strange. And that whole of Natalya's team survived. It didn't really make a lot of sense. It would have been better if Paige would have beat them all one by one and survived herself, made her look really good in the process. There wasn't a lot of logic to that. But overall, it was a very good pay-per-view, better than the previous ones have been, because since SummerSlam it's kind of taken a drop, and they've been a bit lazy with it, but that was a lot better, and I expect TLC to be good. So yeah, that's it for this week's show. Hopefully I'll be back some point this week with some for otherwise next week we'll be talking about Progress Wrestling that we went to, Chapter 16. And also have an additional video where we'll talk about the whole Things from our Steve Austin podcast when I get a chance to watch it. Okay, speak to you soon. Bye.